What is up, Mythguardians? Leak Daniel here. We finally got new developments in Mythgard. The first cards from Rings of Immortality, the new expansion, have been leaked. So I figured I'd give them a review, and while I'm not really going to cover the art, do appreciate it. I think Mythgard cards have some of the best art out there, and these new cards are no exception. I'll give my star ratings at the end if you don't have time to hear all my thoughts on each individual card. Let's go. So the first card is Sanguine Steel, a green mythic spell for 7 mana, which costs 2 green gems. The effect is banish all your minions. Each is replaced by a 5/2 Stemma Diva with Agile and Life Tap. This is a very expensive card and requires you to already have a board of minions up. And the low health of the minions means they're vulnerable to things like Thunderclap. However, I don't think it's as bad as it looks. I think this works kind of like Pride of Place, in that the transformed minion can attack if they were already on the board the previous turn. So if you have 4 minions already on the board, you can easily push for 20 damage and heal 20 damage with the life tap. It's kind of like a mini Alacrity. So don't sleep on this card. Or like a mega Alacrity, really. So don't sleep on this card. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. The next card is TRICKSTER, a 2-mana rare orange minion, costs 1 orange gem with 3 attack and 2 health. It has a once per turn effect of select a minion without revealing it. It gets, before attacking, gets -2, -0, and Fragile 2 until the start of your next turn. And then the demise effect is lose life equal to the number of times you've used the above ability. I think this is a very powerful card. It has competitive stats for 2 mana and only costs 1 gem. And its effect is powerful and doesn't cost an action. The health cost seems pretty inconsequential to me since only the Harmony faction has stealth. I love that they're giving other factions different ways to be disruptive without having to play or activate anything during the opponent's turn. I think this is wonderful design for a digital card game. So moving on to Death Maiden's Eye, a blue artifact for 3 mana, costs 1 blue gem, and it has a once per turn effect of -3 durability and choose a minion without revealing it. The next time the minion is attacked, it gets +2/+0 and Alpha Strike before combat until end of turn, and it has 9 durability. Kind of similar to TRICKSTER in a way, but it's an artifact, of course, so it doesn't have a body, and it's kind of fragile, right? It could be easily destroyed. So I think it's along the same lines of deceiving the opponent when they attack. And I think whether or not it's good would depend on if the effect persists after the artifact is destroyed. It's hard to tell from the wording if the effect is tied to the minion or to the artifact. I believe it should last after the artifact is destroyed, which could definitely create some uncomfortable stalemates between you and your opponent, which could be useful for a control deck. So I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. So our first red card is Impoverished Ogre, a 3 mana common red minion with 4 attack and 5 health that costs 1 red gem. And its only effect is that it has Fragile 2 during your opponent's turn. So not much to say here. It has 4 mana worth of stats, but it only costs 3 mana. But the downside is fragility. I think the fragility downside is too abusable since your opponent dictates the first interaction with it. Therefore, this probably won't see play. 1 out of 5 stars. By GULLVEIG'S Grace is a 7 mana mythic spell which costs 3 blue gems, and all players draw up to 7 cards in hand. So clearly this is a replenish card for aggro decks. However, I think with Mythgard's burning mechanic, most aggro decks will not want to get up to 7 mana in the first place. So this is too expensive, and I don't think it will see play. 1 out of 5 stars. Alright, Guardian Plateau. I think this is our first enchantment on the list. 5 mana, 2 orange gems, desert enchantment. When you create a minion here, create 2/2 Sand Guardians in adjacent unoccupied lanes. So it's a very interesting little enchantment, a little expensive. The question is, how many times can you summon these Guardians? 4/4 stats for 5 mana is clearly not worth it. 8/8 or 12/12 over multiple turns? Maybe. Yeah, now we're talking. So your opponent could avoid attacking the Sand Guardians to make that difficult for you. So I think this card could also be useful in addition to just generating lots of stats. It could be useful in protecting a lurker minion with a powerful effect. So I'd give it 3 out of 5 stars. Could see some play. Backchannel Captain. So this one generates an item, so we'll have to read through the item as well. But it's a 5 mana purple minion. It's common. It looks like a mythic from the art. It looks like an individual, but it's common. And it's 4/5 stats, and its effect is awaken, add a Captain's Hat item to your hand, and it has a one-time utility effect. Deal 3 damage to another minion, then disable this ability. And the Captain's Hat is a powerful little item. Give a minion breach, draw a card. So I think that's pretty good. Weak stats for 5 mana, but he makes a very powerful item. The Captain's Hat will force your opponent to defend every lane from possible breach until you play it. Furthermore, the Captain himself has an effect that can enable breaching more easily, although this will prevent the Captain from attacking. This means you will usually draw at least 1 card off of it. And he's common, which means you can have 4 copies of this floating around in your deck for some nice hand advantage generation. 4 out of 5 stars. DUOFLEX. DUOFLEX is a 3 mana, 2 yellow gems, common 1/1 minion with a utility effect which costs 2 mana, double strength and health. This card is bad. Everyone is thinking of ways to combo with it, but frankly, it's way too slow. It's a 3 mana 1/1, and it costs an action and 2 more mana each time you double. So even if you play lots of stuff to buff it, so the doubling makes it formidable very quickly, your opponent can simply bounce it to your hand with a Deported or a Valkyrie Enforcer or whatever new bounce stuff they come out with in this expansion, and it starts you all over. You lose the buffs, you lose the doublings. It's way, way too slow. So 1 out of 5 stars. So let's check out the other yellow minion that I like a lot more. CORUSCANT AXOLOTL. Our AXOLOTL boy has gotten big and strong. He's a common, 4 mana, 1 yellow gem, 4 attack, 5 health, with Forge Regen 3. So before we talk about this card, I have to explain the Forge mechanic. If any copy of this card is burnt, all copies in your deck get the Forge effect. So in this case, if you burn 1 CORUSCANT AXOLOTL, all of the ones in your deck have Regen 3 for the rest of the game. So I would say this is a very powerful card. Its common rarity works well with its Forge mechanic. And one way to see just how good this is to think of it as a mini Twin Blanc. It doesn't generate a partner, so it's not as much stats for your money, but it's also cheaper, both in terms of mana and gems. And your opponent pretty much has to take it out in 1 hit, or it will recover whatever damage they did to it. So I would give this 5 out of 5 stars. Banquet of BUPHONIA is a mythic 5 mana red spell, costs 2 red gems, and you sacrifice one of your minions. All your other minions gain strength equal to the sacrificed minion's strength. And you banish the spell after casting. It's a very expensive card, costing a sacrifice and 5 mana, but could be used with Death Rattle cards or high attack cards for a finisher. Melpomene Muse, for example, to draw a card and get +4 attack to everything else. It doesn't give you Agile, but if your opponent isn't blocking you, this could be the way you push to finish the game in an aggro deck. You could even think of it like a cheaper Allfather's Horn. I think that's the most optimistic way to think about it, but I think it will see play, so I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, Earth Striker. Earth Striker is a blue 2 mana, 2 blue gem minion with 1 attack and 2 health, Alpha Strike, and Awaken if created in an enchanted lane, draw a card. So you would play this in rainbow decks, presumably rainbow pure Norden decks. It's a powerful 2-drop for those sorts of decks, but even there it has competition for that slot. Einherjar Thane and Valkyrie Tuff are not obviously worse. You would have to boost its stats to make it the preferred option, since Alpha Strike with low attack is pretty weak. It's nice that it replaces itself though, so 2 out of 5 stars. Okay, last one, Judo Garudo is a 3 mana minion, uncommon, costs 2 purple gems, and it has 3 attack and 3 health. With a breach effect, minions adjacent to the attacked lane are stunned until the end of their next turn, and Forge also deal 2 damage to the affected minions. Its stats are not very good for 3 mana, and he has to compete with all of the shinobis. It has to breach to affect adjacent minions, and it doesn't have Agile, which means most of the time it will be affecting 0 or 1 minion when breaching. If you compare it to things like Shinobi of Wind or Meso Libre, it's pretty clearly inferior, and for that I've got to give it 1 out of 5 stars. Okay, now I'll get to my star ratings. That's the last card, so here are my star ratings. Sanguine Steel is a 4-star card. TRICKSTER is a 4-star card. Death Maiden's Eye is a 3-star card. Impoverished Ogre is a 1-star card. By GULLVEIG'S Grace is a 1-star card. Guardian Plateau is a 3-star card. Backchannel Captain is a 4-star card. DUOFLEX is a 1-star card. CORUSCANT AXOLOTL is a 5-star card. BANQUET of BUPHONIA is a 4-star card. Earth Striker is a 2-star card. Judo Garudo is a 1-star card. And that's it. So with that said, I'm excited to see more cards from this set, and I'm excited to hear what you think down in the comments. Do you agree with my reviews, or do you think I'm off the mark? Let me know, and thanks for watching.